G'day, my name is Shay with Box Collector, and today I will be teaching you how to play the 2 to 5 player game, Perch, designed by Doug Hettrick and published by Inside Up Games, who provided me with this copy. In Perch, players fight over locations by commanding birds. Earn points and command woodland creatures by having the most birds at a location and trying to knock other opponents' birds off the perch. To set up the game, the circular part of the box insert is known as the roost, and it holds all 5 colors of birds in separate wells. Remove the roost from the box and place it within reach of all players. Separate the location tiles by their backs. There are 6 basic tiles, 9 creature tiles, and 9 special tiles. If it's your first game, build the homestead according to this setup. In a 5-player game, you have it just like this. In a 4-player game, you'll have it like this. And you'll have it like this in a 3-player game. If this isn't your first game, then you will select a certain amount of special, basic, and creature tiles depending on the number of players. Some locations have 1 or more nest icons in the lower right corner. It could be 1, 2, or 3 nests. Place a number of nests on these location tiles equal to the number of nest icons on the tile. So there will also be a nest here and here. For each creature location in play, gather the matching card and standee and place them near the homestead tiles within reach of all players. Set the fountain board within reach of players. Refer to the inner corner on the top right of the board and place the side matching your player count face up. Place the round marker in the round 1 space. Place birdhouses equal to the number of players to the right of the round 4 space. And place lightning tokens equal to the number of players to the right of the round 5 space. Players place their matching scoring token on the 0/60 space on the fountain board, with the 60+ side face down. And if you were playing a 2-player game, you would still have 3 tokens, with one of them representing the bird-brained player. Locate the objective cards and refer to the player count icon in the lower left-hand corner. Return any objective cards that do not match your player count to the box. Shuffle the remaining cards and deal 2 to each player. Simultaneously, each player selects 1 objective to keep, placing it face down in front of them, and return the other to the box. However, if it's your first game, we recommend playing without the objectives and adding them in when you're comfortable with the different location tiles and creatures. Each player chooses a color, noting their supply of 28 birds matching that color in the roost. These birds are referred to as your flock. The starting player is the last player to feed a bird. Give this player the migration bag and turn order token 1. Then in clockwise order, distribute the remaining turn order tokens in ascending order to all players. The game takes place over 5 rounds. In each round, players will place birds from their own and other players' flocks onto locations to earn points, trigger special actions, and take control of creatures. Points are awarded during the upkeep phase of each round. The player whose flock has earned the most points by the end of the game wins. Each round of the game has 4 phases. The first phase is the migrate phase. In the migration phase, remove 2 birds from each player's flock and add them to the migration bag. Some locations will allow players to place extra birds from their flock into the migration bag during migration, and you'll place your birds as specified by the location. In the rare case that a player doesn't have enough birds to place in the migration bag, so for example, if blue only had 1 bird in their flock left, they add what they can to the bag and forgo the rest. After the migration phase is the recruit phase. Shake the migration bag, then in turn order, each player draws 2 birds from the migration bag and takes 2 birds from their own flock from the roost. So for example, if I was the blue player, I would add 2 of my own birds from my roost. So now I have 4 birds in total. After recruiting is the perch phase. In turn order, each player places 1 of their recruited birds onto any location and may execute 1 bonus action, which I will explain a little bit later. And the way you perch is only 1 bird can be placed at a time, and birds may only perch on location tiles. They can't perch on the fountain. There is no limit to the number of birds that can occupy a location. Birds of the same flock must be stacked together. A stack must contain birds of only 1 color. There's no limit to the number of birds that can be stacked in this way. And if your bird stack ever gets too high and becomes unstable, you can use one of these bases to help. A bird may be placed in a nest if it is unoccupied, or if the nest is already occupied by birds of the same flock. A nest always counts as +1 bird for the flock that occupies it, and this includes scoring, location effects, and creature abilities. If a nest becomes empty, a player can reposition a flock of birds already on that location to the empty nest. To do so, the player must place a bird in the nest as part of their perch action, and then move the matching flock already on this location to the nest. And birds and creatures cannot wrap around the homestead when they are moved. This means that the rightmost and leftmost columns are not considered to be adjacent to one another. All right, let's talk about bonus actions. Once per turn during the perch phase, either before or after placing a bird, a player may take a single bonus action. And there are 3 possible bonus actions, and they're not always available. Activate a creature, build a birdhouse, and zap a bird. If we look at the hawk's nest, the controlling player becomes the hawk controller. So the green player now has the ability to control the hawk. So if during the previous upkeep phase, a player gained control of a creature, they may move the creature and activate its ability. Refer to the creature's reference card and follow its activation instructions. Then turn the reference card face down to indicate it's been activated. Now it's important to understand that each round, every player will take 4 turns, sending their 4 recruited birds to location tiles, which means a player can take a maximum of 4 bonus actions per round. Because I said before, you can take a bonus action once per turn during the perch phase, and there's 4 turns per round. In rounds 4 or 5, players may use a bonus action to place a birdhouse atop any stack of 1 or more birds. Once a birdhouse has been placed, birds may not be added to or removed from that stack, and that stack cannot be affected by creatures or lightning tokens. A birdhouse counts as +1 bird for the flock it is placed on, for all purposes, regardless of who placed the birdhouse. In round 5, players may use a bonus action to remove 1 bird from any location using their lightning token. The player whose bird was zapped then places their bird on the fountain. Or they may zap an unoccupied nest, and if a nest is zapped, it is returned to the box rather than placed on the fountain. Birds may only be zapped from location tiles, not from the fountain. And as I said just a second ago, lightning cannot affect a bird protected by a birdhouse. After the perch phase is the upkeep phase. You'll score each location, determine the new starting order, trigger locations that activate during upkeep, and advance the round marker. When the round marker is advanced to rounds 4 and 5, each player receives a birdhouse in round 4 and a lightning token in round 5. Starting from the leftmost column of locations, tally scores from the top to bottom. Then repeat with the next column until all locations have been scored, and locations without birds aren't scored. Points are found at the top right of locations. The player with the most birds at that location gets that top number of points, then the second most gets the middle, and the third most gets the bottom. And blue, because they have 3 compared to green's 2, they get 3 points, green gets 4 points, but blue gets the migration condition. If we look over here at the scented pine trees, there is a tie because yellow has 2, but since green is on a nest, they get +1. And all ties cancel each other out. So if 2 or more flocks are tied for most, second most, or third most birds, you'll follow some tie guidelines. If 2 players are tied, so in this case, no players score points for most or second most birds. And if 3 players were tied, then no one would get any points. Now, if we had a situation like this, where one player has 3, so they're in first place, but then second place is tied, then this player still gets 3 points, but these 2 players don't score anything. And the same applies if players are tied for the third most. And I'll quickly note that for the purposes of objective cards and other effects, the player with the most birds at a location is considered to be in control of that location. But remember, all ties cancel, so if players are tied for most birds, there is no controlling player. After locations have been scored, turn order tokens are redistributed in point order. So that means that the player with the most points, in this case green, will be first in turn order for the following round. Then blue will go second, and yellow will go third. If there's ever a tie, the player who arrived at that value first, so it would be the token at the bottom of the stack, is considered to be ahead of any players above it. Then you trigger locations that activate during upkeep. And you'll perform these actions starting with the leftmost column from top to bottom, and then repeat until all locations that activate during the upkeep phase have been completed. Now, since no one is currently controlling this card, let's say, for example, yellow is. They now become the cat controller. And as I mentioned before, the controlling player takes the creature card and the creature standee, and the standee will be placed on its home tile. But if 2 or more players tie for most birds, no player gains control. Instead, the creature card is set aside until control is assessed in the next upkeep phase. Throughout the game, creatures will move around, but control of that creature is still determined by whoever controls the creature's home tile. And even if control of a creature changes, the creature will still remain where they last ended up. Throughout the game, in any situation where a bird is sent to the fountain, either by being zapped or by a creature/location ability, the player whose bird was affected is the one who places it on the fountain. So if green was zapped, then the green player gets to decide where their bird goes in the fountain. Now, whenever a bird is placed in the fountain, it must be supported, which means that before placing a bird in an empty perch spot, all of the perch spots beneath it that are connected by a line must be filled first. So I can't place this bird anywhere in this fountain except the bottom row, because only the bottom row is currently supported. Once this space has a bird in it, then a bird can be placed here. Once placed on the fountain, a bird may not be moved from its perch spot. If you're ever instructed to send a bird to the fountain but it's full, the bird is instead moved to the plaza. And the plaza is the space beneath the fountain. Birds are placed here only if specifically instructed or at the end of the game. And there's no limit to the amount of birds that can occupy the plaza. And as you can see at the end of the game, these are the points you score depending on the location of your bird, with a bird in this location gaining 6 points. Once you're on the 5th round, you'll still conduct the upkeep phase as normal before proceeding to end game scoring. First, move any birds remaining in the migration bag to the plaza. Next, if any hidden objectives are in play, determine whether each player has achieved their goal. If so, players earn points as indicated in the top right of their objective card. And just as a note, hidden objectives are not shared, so players may only score points for their own objective card. So if this was my card and I still completed these 2 unwittingly, it doesn't matter, I don't get the points for them. I only score for my objective. 10 points are awarded for the single largest flock on a single location. Green had 5, blue had 6. 6 is the largest, so blue got 10 points. If, however, green had 6 as well, and they tied for the largest, then no one gets the 10 points. Each player is awarded 3 points for each creature they control at the end of the game. So yellow is controlling the cat, so they get 3 points. And then as I just mentioned, players are awarded points for each bird in the fountain, equal to the points indicated to the right of that level. If a player's score ever goes over 60, you'll just flip the token over and keep moving down. In case of a tie, the tied player with the largest flock at a single location wins. And if players are still tied, the player with the most birds on the fountain wins. And if you're still tied, you share the victory. And that is how you play Perch. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please feel free to check out my other content. Thanks.